Hi and welcome to another Mixed Media Tuesday. Today I'm working on my art journal and the inspiration came from the Vagabond Aviator Pad. This is a new Stamperia collection by Antonis Tsenidakis and I did an unboxing last week. So I'm starting with acrylic paint and this is a chocolate brown color as well as an ivory one. Both those paints are by Stamperia from their Allegro collection. You can use any acrylic paints that you like for the first layer. I just love the Stamperia ones because they are fluid and they are so easy to apply. I'm going to cover up completely both pages by mixing those colors directly on top of the page, and I'm not going for the perfect application here, I just want to get rid of that white page. Keep in mind this is going to be just the first layer. So I'm happy with how the first page looks. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other page. I'm using my heat gun here and making sure that this first layer is completely dry. And then I wanted to use these new patinas. These are vintage patinas. It's a new product to me that I haven't used before. And I wanted to see if I can work with them on paper. These are actually made for giving that aged effect on dimensional elements like resin casts or clay casts. However, since I have them, I wanted to see how they react on top of paper. And that's usually what I do with new products. I like to know their attributes, their properties, how they work on different surfaces, and just go for it. So here I'm working with those patinas. I went with the turquoise color and the dark blue, and I'm using a stiff brush. This is completely dry, and all I'm doing is dry brushing on top of my page. I don't load the brush with too much paint, and I'm doing brush strokes top to bottom. I'm not going to cover up completely the first layer. I want to still see some of that brown, and just because the brush has so stiff bristles, it creates those brush strokes and you can see the brown color coming through. And you will be able to see the effect that I'm talking about at the close-up photos at the end of this video. These patinas are water-based. They are really easy to apply, as you can see, with a dry brush, and at the same time it doesn't smell at all, just because it is water-based. Plus it's so easy to clean your brush just by using water. So you can definitely use this vintage patina product on top of paper. It dries lovely, really quickly with the heat gun, and it doesn't bubble up. Of course, you can definitely get a similar effect by using thick acrylic paints. Now let's make this background more interesting. I'm going to grab a new stamp. This is the aircraft stamp from the same collection. And the design is a great combination of gears and aircraft blueprints. I think it makes a perfect background, so much detail there. And again, remember, these stamps are foam stamps at the back. They are not clink ones, although they are rubber. So the idea is to use them freely with your hands instead of using a stamping block. This way you will get an organic look. Again, keep in mind this is an art journal, so we don't need the perfect impression. We just need some visual texture at the background. I used black ink for this background, but I think a dark brown one would work beautifully as well. Now, I'm not going to stamp the whole thing as it is completely, but you can definitely do that. I'm picking different areas. However, since the design was so lovely, I just couldn't stop myself at some point, so I pretty much stamped the whole thing after all. So this is where I decided that it's about time to stop with stamping. I'm going to do another technique for backgrounds, and that's stenciling. So I'm bringing a new stencil from this collection. The stencil is called Statue of Liberty, but for this project I'm only going to use the text part of this stencil, and I'm working with black embossing paste. Just a bit of paste at the back of your spatula would do the trick. For this step you can use any paste that you have at home. It can be embossing paste, it can be texture paste, it can be even thick gesso if you have one. Just adding some visual texture plus dimension on my page. And when you are working with paste, always pick up just a little bit of that product. Trust me, it goes a long way, and the thicker it is, the best result you will get, since it's not going to seep underneath the stencil to create a mess. And now for my favorite white splashes, I'm using white acrylic paint that I have diluted with water, And this time I'm working with a brush that has very long bristles. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not getting only dots, but also those lines, just a different effect here. The splatter effect that you get depends on the brush that you are using. So you can get very thin splatters or really big dots. Just switch up your brushes for a different effect. So here I'm doing a little bit more stenciling, but this time I'm using black acrylic paint. I'm not adding dimension this time, just visual texture. The stencil that I'm using is again from the same collection, Gears and Compasses, great for steampunk projects. And I don't use the stencil as a whole, I'm just choosing different areas that I like from the stencil and add them in the place that I need them to go. So here is how my background looks at the moment. I'm going to leave it aside and let's work on the focal points. My focal point is going to be the lady from the Chipboard stickers. She isn't that thick and I can easily use her inside the page. It's not going to add too much bulk. She is a great way to go if you don't like fuzzy cutting, but if you don't want to get the chipboard stickers and you will go just with the paper pads, then you can definitely find her in a large size in the 12 by 12 paper pad at the last page. And as I browse through those pages, you will see that there is another one of this design and she is huge, as you can see here. Here's another great focal point, I just love the face. Anyway, here I grab the background paper pad and I'm looking for something to use behind the lady. I decided to go with this strip of a map. I'm just going to cut it out and just to make it look more interesting, I'm going to use my decal trimmer, which gives a lovely edge, but you can definitely use your regular paper trimmer and just go with your scissors over the edge to make it look more distressed. And now from this paper pad I'm going to use my scissors and cut out some of the newspapers. This is a collage of newspapers, so I'm just going to separate them and create my own ephemera. At this stage I don't know how many of them I'm going to use, so I'm just cutting out a bunch to have plenty to play with. And I'm always playing with background papers that are contrasting with my focal point, so that when I place the lady on top of them, both the map or those ephemera that I'm creating, she's going to stand out. So if you take a look at all those little pieces of paper, they have similar colors. So I need to make sure that they're going to stand out if I place one on top of the other. And the trick for that is to darken up their edges. And here is where I realized that I haven't darkened up the edges of my page. It's a little detail that I usually go and add on my pages, mainly the vintage ones. I like to have a darker blended edge since it kind of frames the whole thing, it makes it look more finished and I love the look. And it's time to put everything down. I am creating the backdrop of my girl. This is where I'm going to place her on top. So I'm using glue, white glue, to stick all the papers down. I'm also going to distress the edges of those little newspapers and I'm going to tuck them behind the map. I made sure that I didn't add white glue all the way to the edge of that map strip that goes from top to bottom. This way I can easily tuck behind all the other elements. And I get asked a lot about the type of glue that I'm using. So here, since everything is permanent, I did use acrylic paints for the background. You can definitely go with your matte medium and it's not going to make a mess at all. However, I did have that white glue on my desk at that point and I thought it would be easier for me. I just grabbed what I had on my desk. By the way, this is a white glue by Studio Light, but any white glue that you have would do the trick. Now here I grab the Collectables pad. This comes with a ton of designs that complements this collection. You will find the girl here too if you want to fuzzy cut her. And I'm looking for things that would work on my page. So I could definitely use one of those skyscrapers in one side and I'm debating if I want to use that or maybe a clock. There are some elements here that would go lovely with the page. And this is what struck me. I thought that it would be fun to cut out one of those plates to use as a ground for my girl so she can step on top of that. And that's kind of the process. I just go through the products that I have and try to think how everything could work together. So here I'm just cutting out this one. And I'm going to glue that down, the girl on top of that, and I did cut out another strip from this pad that says New York City Map, which I'm going to stick down as well. Now, by the way, this is a chipboard sticker, so she has adhesive at the back. However, I just wanted to make sure that she's not going to fall apart at some point. That's why I made sure to stick her down with a little bit of glue as well. And now for this strip that I'm cutting out in half, the color is similar with the background, so I don't want that to blend out completely. That's why I inked up the edges, which is going to help it stand out a little bit more. And I will outline it at the end using my black marker, as you will see. Now for the quote, you can definitely go with one of the labels included in the pad. However, I decided to go with 3 words that I'm going to put together using an alphabet die. So here I went with enjoy the flight, and I'm looking for a pattern paper that contrasts with the background. So I decided to go with this one, the last page of the pad, and I'm just going to cut out the letters that I need to put together the words. I usually go with black cardstock for my quotes to cut out letters, but this time I thought it would be fun to bring in the same patterns as the elements that I have on the right page, and it is a lovely detail bringing everything together. Since this is a page about flight, I wanted to add something that flies, so I could go with a plane from the chipboard stickers, and I'm debating if I want to use the plane or the hot air balloon. I decided, for no obvious reason, to go with the balloon, probably because it doesn't have red on top and it doesn't steal the thunder of the girl. I'm not sure, I just went with the hot air balloon. Sometimes there are no reasons for what I do. Now those chipboard stickers are non-porous, they have kind of a coating on top of them, and that gives me the opportunity to use my Pitt brush markers to add some shading, some color, to make the girl brighter and stand even more against the background. So every time I'm picking a marker that has the same color as the area that I want to color, but it is a little bit darker, and I'm smudging it with my finger. I don't cover the whole area, I'm just creating a shadow on the side that I want. I went with blue for her pants, I'm going with orange for her hair, just making her brighter. This is transparent, so it's not going to cover up what's underneath. It's just going to brighten up the colors a little bit more and bring her more to life. Plus you can tint areas with a different color to give her a completely different look if you like. And I think you can see the effect better on her boots. Look how this boot is going to look like against the other one. Although I'm able to smudge it in the beginning, this is going to dry completely permanent in a bit, so it's not going to smudge or smear in a few seconds. Love the first boot, I'm going to repeat the same process on the other boot as well. Then I'm adding some details with the purple, both on her boots as well as on her cloth. Then for her jacket I went with light green. You can definitely go with brown if you like for this one. And just because these are transparent, they just tint the area and absolutely love the effect. Now I'm going to tint the balloon, the hot air balloon as well. For that I went with India red. And it is going to help it stand out against the background, since at the moment it's actually the same color as the map. For the color of the balloon, I want to stay with the color palette that I already have on my page. I wouldn't go, for example, for a bright fuchsia one, which would make it pop too much. I want the focal point of the page to still be that girl. And I have to say that I absolutely love my big brush markers. They are so easy to work with, and the effect that they add on a page is always stunning. Keep in mind that you can also layer them. As long as the bottom layer is completely dry, you can go ahead and tint again on top of it. Let's give her some red lips, and I'm done with the girl. Now for some little details to finish off the page, I'm using a black marker and I'm going all around the letters just to help them stand out a little bit more. And of course I had to grab my white gel pen and add my highlights on all the cutouts, the newspapers, the girl, just like I always do. If you do enjoy my videos and you are still here, don't forget to click the like button as well as leave me a comment. These are just a few steps that really make a difference for me. I had so much fun creating this page and I absolutely love the result. I hope that you had fun too and that you got inspired. Just like always, down below in the description area you will find links to everything I used. Thank you all so much for watching and I'll see you all next time.